A special kind of evil number 3. People, this is James Dunn, and I'm back. And I want to tell you, I've always tried to be a good guy. But in 1992, I quit the Dallas Independent School System because I had always been a big beer drinker. I've been a binge drinker on weekend. I wanted to stop my too frequent binge drinking. And I've taken care of everybody else. I've been a Democratic delegate. I've taken care of my students. I decided to take care of me. That 1993 article in the Observer will give you the full story. I'm going to ask Observer editor Joe Tone to put that online so that you can read it. One thing that is very important to me to mention is that in the late 1980s, while I was at Skyline, my parents came to me and told me that they had lost their home in a mechanics lien. They had to repay the entire principal that they had paid for their home in 1972. After that, they told me they got a loan. They told me that I got a loan from the Dallas Teachers Credit Union the next day to pay back part of that money for them. I have financial records to prove this. I also took a night job as a lower level manager at Two Pesos Mexican restaurant on Shiloh Road and Northwest Highway in Garland. For 4 years, I worked 40 hours a week at Skyline, really lots more than that. And I worked 40 hours per week from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. at Two Pesos. I coached girls soccer. I taught night school when I needed. I taught summer school. I mowed lawns. I paid that bill off for them so that my parents would not be homeless. So why was it that Paula Dunn Brown evicted me from the home that I paid off for my mother and father? She did that this past December. And now I live in a homeless shelter. Yes, I'm homeless. My 6 Labrador retrievers and I were thrown out of the home we had lived in since 2002 because my sister Paula Dunn Brown shoved that will in front of my mother while my mother was on her deathbed at my sister's home. I have a recording surreptitiously made that proves that my mother had no idea that her will had ever been changed. Now I want you to listen to this recording. It says, my mother calls us in and she says, I'm leaving Paula a third, me a third, and herself a third in case she didn't die. I don't know what that means, but they had my mother so confused she didn't know what to do. I'm going to play that recording for you. It's going to play 3 times, but you'll hear my mother say, and you'll hear Miss Brown's voice on it say a third, a third, a third, which means that when Mrs. Brown turned the will in, said it was left only to her, and she swore that to a judge, and it was granted on January 17th of this year. She put her signature on that on November 13th of last year, 2013. That made it fraud, and that's felony fraud, people, and that's punishable by jail. Listen to this. Playing it again. Again. Okay, people, that was very difficult to hear, but you can hear my mother say she's going to give me a third, Paula a third, and she's going to keep a third. So, why does Paula think she gets it all right now? Anyway, she did this. That's a certain kind is a special kind of evil. What she did to my mother, what she did to the children, what she did to the taxpayers, what she did to me. Now, that recording was made on June 16th, 2008. The will Attorney Brown filed with Dallas County was filed on June 10th, 2008. That recording proves fraud. My mother had no idea that there had been a will made up in her name. I'm limited to only a few minutes on YouTube, so I'm going to have to wrap up quickly. But my sister has a way with the truth, so I'm going to give you some of the quick highlights. When I first came to the school, a kindergarten teacher, William Holmes, and I were asked to give an interview to Channel 5 to tell the reporter why A.W. Brown was exemplary. Pastor Brown told us to go to the school. We were sitting in church at the Fellowship Baptist Church of Oak Cliff on the corner of Blue Ridge and Westmoreland. And he told us to go to the school for the on-the-camera interview that Sunday. Now, the interview aired April 11, 2002. It's still in the Channel 5 archives, where the CEO asked us to go live for him. Problem was, I had not taught school in 10 years, and William Holmes had taught at the DISD's Carpenter Elementary the year before. Now, many of the school's teachers had been at church that day, but they did not want to be on camera. They knew that they had cheated on the state test. William and I did not. This is a copy of Paula Dundas Brown's staff biography, if I can find it in the things on this desk. Anyway, in her staff bio, she claims that her daughter, and I'll show it to you when needed, she claims in her staff bio that she had online, here it is right here, that her daughter Nicole was a graduate of Texas Woman's University, majoring in kinesiology. Okay, that's Paula Dunn Brown's staff bio. This was online for years. People, she knows as well as I that her daughter had to stand in front of church and tell the church members in 2003 that she was not graduating from the university. As a matter of fact, she had not even been attending university. Where can a child learn to lie that way? Now, in filing the false will, Mrs. Brown swore on her signature to the judge that my mother had not received Medicaid after March 1st, 2005. But in an email to me dated 2/13/09, Mrs. Brown states that no thanks to you, her Medicare was immediately reinstated, which covered the cost of her medication. So which is true? What she swore to the judge in court, or what she said to me? One of these makes it perjury, people, and that's another felonious thing. Look at this. This is what she wrote. Hope you can see it in my camera. There was never a $600 discrepancy in Deer's meds. No thanks to you, her medication was immediately reinstated, which covered the cost of her medicine, as did the hospice. Wait just a minute. You need to go apply to Medicaid. She said, see where she said my mother had, I want you to see that word. There was, where is that word Medicaid on there? Medicaid, right there. Her Medicaid, Medicaid. Do you see that? Medicaid was reinstated. Okay, Paul, either she did have it or she didn't. But why would you need that freebie handout when you made that much money to get $40 worth of medicine? Tell me that. And now here's another one, people. This is what she swore to in court. The decedent did not apply for and receive Medicaid benefits on or after March 1st, 2005. Now, which one of those is true? Okay. What about what she wrote on my mother's funeral program about me when I spent so much money taking care of my dad and that I lost my own home I just bought? It reads on my mother's funeral program, she said that God would lead him down the right path. James made it possible for her to care for her beloved CH, my dad, during his final days. It was a down and dirty job, but they faced it together with tenacity and ferocity. Alzheimer's changed Daddy's personality, and at the end, but it never changed their love or devotion. Now, my sister wrote that, and she wrote the same person who said my mother wrote me out of the will, wrote that. See, when it comes to money, people do different things. Okay, so this is a lady, my mother, who wanted me kicked out of the home and made homeless, right? Now, people, I could go on and on and on with these inconsistencies. For instance, where you see, where you heard my mother tell me she was taking Tylenol for pain on the funeral program, my sister wrote that and she wrote this in big, bold letters that my mother suffered. I got 2 words: no pain. You heard my mother say different. Every time I visited her, I have more recordings where my mother was talking about how much pain she was in. And my sister said they had to throw away the narcotics because my mother didn't need them. No, she just let my mother suffer there taking Tylenol. People, this is bad, okay? The fact that I was attacked again and again by my sister and administrative personnel at the school since I would not agree to the cheating is bad. I never taught at the school a day after my mother called me with the phone call in mid-April informing me of her cancer. I quit. After I quit, my sister angrily canceled my TV cable, had the gas turned off at my home, canceled my car insurance, turned off my cell phone I had given my mother so I could have a direct contact with my mother while she was at my house, cut off my mail, and continued punishing me for not going along with the school cheating. This is 2014. I quit in 2008. How does one stop harassment from an ex-employer? Even when I was there in the year of 2005, 2006 that my father died, you want to hear about this. This is much more heinous than anything you've ever heard of. But I've got to stop the recording, pick me up on a special kind of evil, number 4. It's going to blow your socks off.